So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and the latest update actually introduced 4 new augments, so let's check them out. Also, since I am a Warframe partner, I got them for free, just for disclosure. So first up we have the Fused Reservoir, which is an augment for Wisp's reservoirs. Now what this does is it gives you a 4th reservoir that you can choose that has the combined effect of the other 3, but it costs 200% more energy to put down. So instead of having to place down the first reservoir, then the second reservoir, and finally the 3rd reservoir, you can simply put down one big reservoir that's more expensive and you get all the buffs at once. Now the thing I was most curious about here is how does it work with the reservoir system, because if you remember you can only have 2 of each reservoirs up at any given time, and turns out this big reservoir counts as one of each of the smaller ones. So you can either have 2 of the combined reservoirs or one normal reservoir of each type and then the one combined reservoir. If you try to do anything else, like for example put down the big reservoir and then you put 2 health reservoirs, it will delete the oldest one, which would in this case be the combined one. Also, and I almost forgot about this augment is an Exilus mod, which is really cool. Next up we have Hearty Nourishment for Grendel's Nourish. This one is pretty straightforward. So whenever you use Nourish and you have this augment, it will completely clear you of all status effects, and for every enemy you currently have in your stomach you will gain 2 seconds of status immunity. So it's like an additional buff that you get with Nourish. So instead of just getting armor, strike or energy, you also get the status immunity and it clears you of all status effects. This is basically a very easy way to become completely status immune on Grendel, because 99% of the time you either have some enemies in your stomach or there are enemies nearby that you can gobble up and get them into your stomach, so you can Nourish, clear away all your status and become status immune depending on how many enemies you have in your stomach. I'm not 100% sure how useful this is to Grendel players because I myself am not a big Grendel player. Next on the menu we have Repair Dispensary for Protea's Dispensary, and this is a very interesting one. So it basically gives you another functionality for your dispensary, where every 60 seconds you can hold the button down instead of just tapping it, which will create a special dispensary that will revive a sentinel or a Moa. And it's not just for you, it will revive a sentinel or a Moa of a player within 14 meters. The way it works is extremely straightforward. So if I let my sentinel die and I simply press the button, nothing will happen, but if I hold it down, a special dispensary will revive my sentinel and it will go on cooldown for 60 seconds, so I can't summon the special dispensary again. There is even an indicator that pops up at the top right corner of the screen. You can see the red icon with the timer ticking down. And that's all it does. The special dispensary doesn't actually dispense stuff, so if you want to get ammo or some orbs, you're gonna have to cast it again and summon a normal dispensary instead. Also, the revive on the sentinel does not reset things like regen or primed regen, so it will only have 1 life. But I think it's still worth running if you like running sentinels, especially since it is an Exilus mod. And finally we have Airburst rounds for Zephyr's Airburst, which increases the damage of your secondary by 25% for 14 seconds for every enemy hit by Airburst. Now a few things here. It is affected by power strength and power duration, so you can get more damage per enemy hit and it can last much longer, and it caps out at 500%. So you can get quite a bit of damage from this in the right situation. However, it is base damage, so it's the same kind of damage that you get by running Hornet Strike. Which means that the best way to take advantage of this is to actually not run Hornet Strike or any kind of base damage mods on your secondary and replace them with something else. It's a similar kind of buff that you get from Chroma. Now out of all of these, I think I like the Wisp one the most because it makes reservoirs much nicer to use in non-endless missions, or missions where you are not stationary, especially since it is an Exilus mod, so the cost of running it is fairly low. But the Dispensary augment for Protea, which also once again is an Exilus mod, so the cost of running it is fairly low, is gonna be super nice for people that like to run sentinels. I'm once again not 100% sure how useful the Grendel augment is gonna be because I'm not a big Grendel player, and the Zephyr one could be really good if you set up your build to work with it. If you have a really good secondary with maybe a Riven and you set it up so that you take maximum advantage of it, it could be pretty good too. The main problem I have with that augment is that it's sometimes difficult to stack up really high base damage, so you're gonna have to run some power strength on Zephyr, and for me at least, Zephyr is not a very high power strength frame. But you can definitely build something with it if you want to, and that's pretty much it for the video. So I thank you very much for watching as always guys, I hope you've enjoyed it and it was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.